actor. You will have seen him in the Harry Potter films, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Return of the Jedi. Yep. That's Wicket the Ewok there. That's my first ever character. I'm still very good friends with George Lucas, who created the Star Wars films. Although if I've got one criticism of George, it's that he missed a trick. Why did he disguise my face? If you're paying good money for the actor Warwick Davis, then, let the people see the actor Warwick Davis. George realised the error of his ways because he then went on to cast me in Willow there. That film cost, I think it was $40 million, and has made a lot of that back since.
About hops.
Talking about hops. Hops. Hoppy. My father-in-law always reminds me that hops are very similar in makeup to marijuana.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought hops were like little balls.
They're buds, yeah.
They're buds.
Yeah, man, so's weed. You smoke that bud.
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything.
Is this the opening of the show?
I think this is the opening of the show.
Oh, shit. Okay, well, welcome to Star Wars Delusions of Granular.
Hi, I'm Ron.
I'm JP.
And we are talking about hops and
Star Wars.
And weed.
Oh, yeah. Right. Well, I mean, they all go so well together. Yeah, you surprised me there.
Oh, I didn't know how to start the show.
Well,
you got started on hops, so why not?
Fair enough. Yeah, well, we're on a timeline today, so we got to wham, bam, thank you, man.
We're hustling through a quick show tonight.
It's good. It's a focus show, though.
It is a focus show.
Yeah.
We got actually a lot to talk about. But
big things come in small packages.
That's right.
Tall order.
So should we just kind of tell them what we're talking about, or should we tell them who we are and how they can talk to us?
Oh, that's right. It's a podcast.
That's right.
The theater of the mind. We have to paint a little word picture for them.
That's right.
Them being you.
We are a podcast. We talk about Star Wars every week. We are Delusions of Granular.
That's Granular, Granular. Sorry, Ron.
That's right. You can find us at delusionsofgranular.com, where all of our episodes are housed, as well as following us on Facebook at facebook.com/SWDog.
Don't forget to say hi at Twitter at SWDog77. Or feel free to always give us a call and leave a message at 651-337-9364. That's 651-33-SWDOG.
That's right. And it's not in our show notes, but you can always find us on iTunes as well.
Yeah, and Stitcher.
And Stitcher.
Supposedly.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you are new to the show or are
welcome.
Have been listening to us for a while, you can find us pretty much everywhere where your local podcasts hang out.
That's right. Under bridges.
Tempting little children.
Yeah.
That's what we do. All right, folks. Speaking of little children, we are talking about... Well, this is going to be an actor profile.
I'm sorry, Ron. I just had a thought. Do people in prison listen to this, do you think?
Oh.
Do you think...
I don't know. Can they get podcasts?
Can you?
Do they have... No, they don't have any kind of listening device to get this, right?
I mean, the white-collar prisons, right?
Oh, the white-collar prison. Yeah, I'm sure they listen to this. Sure.
Cool.
They're in prison because they've listened to this.
Cool. All right. Cool. Sorry. Didn't mean to derail us here.
It's quite all right. Yeah, we've picked up some new listeners in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a number of listeners from south of the border.
Yeah, so hola.
Yes.
If you're listening to us from Mexico City, give us a shout out on Facebook or leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes.
See if you are actually real people or Facebook's just messing with us.
Do you speak Spanish, Ron?
No.
It'll be fun. Yeah, leave us a message in Spanish. We'll try to figure it out.
We can Google Translate it.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so this is going to be our actor profile episode.
Big time.
We've already done one of these with the leading man of Star Wars.
Oh, that's right.
Mr. Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. It kind of feels like forever ago, Ron.
It does feel like a long time.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what we talked about.
I have no memory of what we said on that podcast.
No. But, I feel like we needed to kind of go back to another actor profile. And, in keeping with the tradition of, the leading men of Star Wars,
Yep, handsome.
Yes, handsome, tall, rugged. We would do
2 out of 3.
we would do an episode about everyone's favorite Ewok, Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davis. Yeah, it's kind of a lispy word.
Warwick Davis. Yeah, Warwick is he's a Brit.
Yeah.
He's a little Brit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, judge him by his size, not.
That's right.
Right? Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, clearly he does. He is a little person, but he is a very powerful player.
That's right. We
Man
we
plays
thought
the game well.
We thought he was an interesting actor to profile this week because of how much stuff the guy's done.
Yeah.
Like literally, like he kind of ranks up there with like of all these Star Wars actors, post the original trilogy actors, the prequel trilogy actors. He kind of ranks right up there at the top of like really having a high box office gross.
Oh yeah. Well, think about how many. It's funny because you don't think of that name Warwick Davis necessarily when you think of like big franchises, but how many big franchises does he have like a returning character in?
That's right. Well, he was in Star Wars.
Check.
Right, as Wicket. Okay, so he was really only in, of the original trilogy, he was in Jedi. He wasn't in the first two.
Because he was like 12 or something.
Yeah, he was like
point,
12
right?
or 13, yeah.
Yeah, prodigy.
Yeah. And so he got the role Wicket, and we'll get into how he got that role later. But he played Wicket, the head Ewok, or the leading Ewok in Star Wars, or Return of the Jedi. He was in Harry Potter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as the little troll gnome.
That's right.
Accountant.
He was as two people.
Oh,
he was as the troll, the
young Harry.
banker, young Harry. No, he was the banker, Grip Hook.
Oh,
okay, but he was also Professor Flitwick.
Oh yes.
Right?
Well, who could forget Professor Flitwick?
Right, the short one.
Yeah, so full of shit. I watched all those movies.
I watched half of them.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I remember him in it though. I
remember him as accountant Flitwick.
Yeah, the banker.
Yes.
Guy. Yeah. So he was in all 8 of them apparently.
Yeah.
Okay.
That checks out in my research. Yeah.
He's been in Doctor Who.
Oh, okay, sure,
okay.
yeah.
So check off another nerd.
I'm sure we have plenty of Whovians out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
He was in the TV show. This may be BBC. I'm not sure if this is BBC or the American show, but Merlin.
Okay.
So some fantasy there.
Right. Yes, Merlin with the. I believe is that the show either with Sam Neill or is that the show with the Doctor from Star Trek DS9, Bashir?
Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you.
Either way, I'm in.
I'm sure one of those shows had a little person in it, and it was Warwick.
All right, fair enough.
All right. He was in the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Right. Now, you're a big Douglas Adams fan.
That's right.
Did you care for that film?
I enjoyed it. As I enjoy most things Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy like.
I enjoyed it, and I went with a couple big...
It was a little uneven.
Yes.
I'll admit that.
Yes. I went with a couple big Hitchhiker's fans, and it was kind of... I was left... I've never read all the books.
Right.
And so I was left once again with that feeling of like I know a lot of the jokes.
Sure.
It's been distilled through culture to me.
Oh, absolutely.
But like it didn't... I still haven't gotten that pure hit, so...
Right. Well, I don't think... I mean, I've only read the books. Apparently, a pure hit is the radio drama.
Right.
Show. Drama, whatever. But he played the Marvin, the paranoid android.
Oh, yes.
Which is a very characteristic role for Mr. Davis, because for the majority of his career, he was behind a mask.
Right.
So he was an Ewok. He was behind the mask. He was a robot. He was behind the mask. He was a troll. He was behind the mask. He was, he was the Leprechaun.
Oh God, yes.
Right.
Yes,
the
for
Leprechaun
like 6
series,
or 7 films.
Right? The Leprechaun horror series.
Yes,
right?
just recently replaced by Hornswoggle.
Okay.
Because the WWE now owns that franchise.
All right, but he was behind the mask there. He played the Leprechaun.
You know who his character, his like career reminds me of?
Who?
Ron Perlman.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting I was going to make some parallels.
Yeah.
But,
okay, continue on.
No, that's fine. So he was in Labyrinth.
Ah, right.
Okay.
As one of the...
I didn't write down what he played in that.
Okay. I wonder if he played... We'll have to look back into that.
Yeah, we'll have to look back into that. Okay, so... movie
Behind a mask, either way.
Sure, right.
Yes.
Those were the movie roles. He was in the Ewok movies. Those were on TV.
Right?
He was in both of them.
Yes.
Now we get into stuff that isn't... This is more stage, but still very geek-oriented. He was in Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Trader on stage, Chronicles of Narnia.
Now,
this is in Britain.
This isn't the BBC production.
Because
that
maybe it was. Maybe it was.
It seems like he might have been in that.
Okay, maybe I'm getting mixed up with this next one. He was in Spamalot. Which was a stage production of Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
I wonder what he played in that one. Huh.
Yeah, I don't know. He was
I hope
also...
he played like a real Python, like one of the main characters or something.
I don't think he did.
No,
I don't think so. He was in, obviously, this is a stage production, or maybe a BBC. I'm getting them mixed up here, but he was in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Okay. All
right. But of course, I skipped one of his big movies.
I've got nothing. What is it?
Willow.
God, yes.
Willow. He was the star of Willow.
That was his movie. That was his jam.
1988, Willow.
Do you get the impression that Willow is a divisive film? Because I kind of do. I feel like people either love it or hate it.
I read up on it a little bit after I watched it, and I feel like not divisive. It has become reassessed and is now a cult favorite.
Interesting. See, I'm going to go on a limb.
Okay.
And just make a bold claim that I think Gen 2 fans saved Willow.
That's quite possible. It's quite possible. I know I had watched it prior to doing the research for the show, but I didn't remember much of it other than like there was a scene where they're like storming a castle and there's the two-headed dragon.
Mad Mortigan, the baby.
Well, there was that. Yes. His wonderful acting chops in that.
It's a delightful
It's an
film.
endearing movie.
Delightful.
It is a very endearing movie, and I think it's endearing because like there's no like you never feel like there's like major consequences that's going to happen. Like,
well, I felt like there was quite a bit of peril when I was younger.
Yes, but it's not like Lord of the Rings peril or
okay.
Right? It's very like
it's a lighthearted romp.
It's a lighthearted romp. Yes.
But there's some dark things.
There's some dark things in it, but in the end of the day, it's still very lighthearted. Right?
I remember thinking it felt very, very like I liked it as a kid, but I didn't like things that felt like, for lack of a better word, dirty. Like it felt like I would encounter this feeling later on as I first encountered like Monty Python and other BBC productions.
Yeah,
things that are kind of like I find it with like when I first saw Absolutely Fabulous, like Ab Fab.
Oh yeah,
like I was like, this is like is that same kind of like there's something weirdly too real about thing. Like
sure,
it's, like I don't know, characters are like in the mud. It's like it just feels like it's not a polished feeling movie.
Well,
ultimately, to me,
two things.
Okay,
Ab Fab, I think was videotape,
right?
And I think that led to kind of feeling
like when they were BBC
right,
thing.
Yeah. But I think what led to this Willow not feeling like it was polished, was the effects kind of were low grade.
Okay, sure.
You had. So basically, the story of Willow, and we should talk about Willow in some length because
let's give Willow some time.
That's his big thing, right? That
I
was
hope
his
he's
big
still
thing.
proud of it.
Yeah, I think he is. I think looking into like how he acts nowadays to his career in general, I think he's proud of everything he's done.
Good,
right?
Well, yeah. I mean, hell, he's overcame quite a hurdle,
right? So. Willow is basically a story of a witch who's basically threatened by babies being born.
Yes.
Because one baby will one day be born that will basically conquer this witch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Baby is born. You know, she's kind of keeping all these women in captive at the beginning of the movie, this witch is. Mm-hmm. And one of them is pregnant, has a baby, and this is, what do you know? The chosen one.
Yep.
Right? I forget how I think she has a scar on her face or something. Or
birthmark. Yeah, birthmark, yes.
Right? So the baby is known as being the one that's going to overthrow the witch, the queen, whatever. Black Queen, whatever. So the woman puts the baby in a basket, puts the baby down the river, is found by Willow and his family, and they basically the journey begins that Willow decides he needs to take care of the baby and bring the baby from point A to point B.
Yeah, there's a whole determination process.
Yeah.
The elders and such.
Yeah, and they pick him to be kind of the person to do this task. Along the way, he runs into the somewhat criminal
Mad Mardigan.
Mad Mardigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is
Val
in a
Kilmer.
cage when you meet him.
Yeah, Val Kilmer is in like a giant bird cage.
He's your kind of Han Solo here. He's your
He
rogue.
is. Totally is a rogue. Kind of
and
funny.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's pretty darn great.
This is a great era for Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
This is like real genius.
He has like long black hair that's in braids.
Yeah.
It's just like, and he's kind of like comedic relief too.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of with that Big Trouble in Little China vibe of like a character who's too big for his own britches, you know?
Right.
Like,
he wants to be the hero, but he keeps screwing it up.
Yeah, he's not like you kind of get the impression that this badass look he's got is sort of a put on.
Right.
It's a little contrived.
So getting back to the effects, I wanted to bring up the characters that I had a big problem with.
I know exactly who they are. Yeah,
the brownies.
Yes.
Right, the brownies.
Yes.
So the brownies are these little people. Mm-hmm. Like you already have Warwick, a little person. You know, that's like 3 feet tall. Yeah. I'm glad you bring that up because I want to talk about the Hobbit afterwards. Yeah. But then you have these men that are literally, what's that, like 8 inches tall?
Yeah.
Maybe 6 inches
maybe
tall?
6 inches.
Right?
Yeah, they're action figure size.
Right? And they're annoying as hell.
Yeah.
Right?
They're
annoying.
supposed to be the comedic relief.
They are, yeah. But they're annoying. They annoy the characters in the movie.
They annoy the audience. You might have hit the nail on the head with like what is the barrier of people enjoying this film.
Well, and the fact that the effect is awful. Like, you can tell the entire time that they're being filmed on a green screen, and they never look like they're actually in the environment that they're in. They're never really ever interacting with the environment that they're in.
I'm trying to think because like I'm remembering like Neverending Story has size differentiation like characters. What else is there? There's like some other things.
Well, the Lord of the Rings movies has size differentiation that they did with forced perspective.
Oh, is there like tiny characters in that?
Yeah, the hobbits.
Oh no, they're
right, but that was done with forced perspective.
Yeah, and they didn't actually hire little people.
This is not like they're not doing the trick in camera. Like they literally filmed these guys on a separate location, just inserted them on top of the film that's already.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, like I'm just thinking, like even in the era they were doing this, I think I've seen it done better.
Oh, sure. I'm sure they've done it in like Gulliver's Travels and stuff like that.
But since we brought up The Hobbit, let's just take a little interlude here. So this is a George Lucas joint. This is his story.
A George Lucas story.
Is he credited on script, Or?
I believe he is. He produced it.
It's like him and maybe a couple other names.
Yeah, it's him and I think another guy, and then Ron Howard directed it.
Ron, that totally blindsided me. I did not realize this was a Ron Howard film.
In fact, George Lucas did write it because he wrote it specifically for Warwick in mind.
That's cool.
Right. So that's interesting. Is like, Warwick is in Return of the Jedi, and he must have had quite an effect on George Lucas that he's like, hey, the next movie I'm going to write is going to be yours. Well,
yeah, there's all those endearing stories and stuff that I'm sure we'll get into here.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, just because what you brought up today about the Phantom Menace thing you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. So we got the Brownies, and the Brownies, that's a pre-existing kind of fantasy character books.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I believe there's a series called The Brownies, right? About, like, little people that live under
I imagine there is.
floorboards.
Yeah, sure.
So you got those.
Yep.
You've got Willow's people who... Are they named? Do you remember?
They are named. I wish I wrote down what it was.
It's
okay. Not the Hobbits. They do have their...
The
they are
Nobbins,
particular...
The Nobbits, yeah.
It's something like... It literally is like Noggles or something.
Okay. So there's a Hobbit-like race.
Yes.
There's a princess. A lot of archetypes is what I'm getting.
Yes, there's princesses, there's queens, there's the evil guy with the skull mask.
Ooh, I want to touch on him later because that's a Mobius design.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Big time. So, like, there's all the Dinotopia thing. So you brought up today when, we're at work.
Oh, Dinotopia.
You brought up that, like, basically Naboo is Dinotopia.
Sans
dinosaurs.
Yeah, so, folks, we're skipping around a little bit, but basically I'm back to reading...
This will tie back.
Yeah, but I'm reading I'm back to reading that Secret History of Star Wars book.
Right.
And I got to the point where George Lucas is making The Phantom Menace. And this is like the early 90s, mid-90s that he's writing The Phantom Menace, putting it together. And it comes out in 99. When he was writing it back in 94, his son, one of his favorite books was Dinotopia.
Yes.
Okay, Dinotopia is a book for kids that's heavily illustrated by, I wish I remembered the guy's name. You kind of hit me with this, and I wasn't prepared.
It's okay.
James Gurney, I think.
I think your Gurney's the right name.
Right, because I was reading up on this, right?
Wow. That's impressive, bro.
Because I'm not drunk.
Oh.
Yet. So, basically, George kind of knew of these books. He was reading these books to his children. And then he goes and creates Naboo. And lo and behold, Naboo looks very similar to the Dinotopia world. Like, almost like straight up, like, taken, like, plagiarized.
Right. Like, I read a couple interviews with the author who was talking about that, too. It was like, it was pretty messed up. And he didn't seem like he was litigious. He was just more like, it's fine. He seemed to indicate that, like, hey, art, that's what artists do. Yeah. But, like, if you're going to do it that directly, you might want to give a call.
Well, George Lucas did call the guy after, like, the movie came out. And he's like, hey, thought you might be concerned. I'm concerned that you might be concerned that I ripped you off.
Right.
And, like, the author, the illustrator, he won't divulge any more details on what happened in that phone call. Right? Like, did George Lucas exchange money?
Or did he just make a veiled threat?
Yeah, like he may have. Right?
Who knows? But the first thing is, when you first hit me with this information, I was like, wow, that's pretty true. Yeah. But then I was looking at more and I was like, well, this is kind of what he's always done, though. It's like, congratulations, Gurney. Like, you now get to join the ranks of Akira Kurosawa and several others who have been, like, appropriated by George Lucas.
Sure.
But I guess the difference is that in 1977, 1975, that whole era, like, he is pulling more from obscure things. They're not things that aren't as told.
This Dinotopia was kind of a popular series.
Oh, yeah. Well, as someone who was 10 years old in 1994, it was big. And, like, so, although, weirdly, I didn't get into it that much, but there's a whole other story.
I was flipping through, like, the Amazon previews.
Yeah. I
couldn't figure out, like, what's story and what's, like, just sketches. Like,
well, that was the thing is, like, when you told me he wrote it to his kids, like, I was under the impression there's not a story to read.
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed like, kind of a tour of the world.
But apparently there's tons of books. Like, the guy who...
there's a series,
post, like, 1999, the guy went on to make more and more books, and he's actually had other people write books.
I haven't dabbled in the Dinotopia world that much, but I did consider it briefly around 2003, 2004. And,
the illustrations are beautiful. Like, the illustrations are really beautiful. The guy really knows how to draw, like, very scientifically accurate looking dinosaurs.
But it's funny when you sent me the screenshots and stuff, like side by side. It looks so much like those cutaway sketches of stuff of like Naboo.
Oh yeah,
like for those diagram
books.
No,
they're straight up like there's like you side by side. You're like, is this picture from Phantom Menace or is it from Dinotopia?
Well, there's no dinosaurs. It must be Phantom Menace. Yeah.
But there's like the parade scene at the end of Phantom Menace.
Right.
There's an illustration that is pretty much dead on.
Yeah, well, that's kind of like the famous Dinotopia illustration.
Right.
But
yeah.
Anyway.
So
what I'm saying though is going all the way back to Willow.
Yes.
There's a lot of appropriating.
Yeah, basic. I mean, this was kind of like George Lucas's stab at like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, this is kind of his like, well, what I did with sci-fi, I'm going to now do with fantasy. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, I don't know if he phrased it like that. I don't know if he was like, I'm going to make a new Star Wars. But it is I mean, until Lord of the Rings, I think you can make a good case that like this is one of the top 5 fantasy films of all time. It's
sure.
Like, this, Legend.
Yeah. Never-ending Story.
Yeah. Like,
Like,
what else is there?
Right.
Like,
right.
Kroll? Kinda?
Right. Yeah, kinda. I mean, for that era, this was big.
Yeah. Like,
but fantasy wasn't big. That's the thing. Like, even though, like, this is probably one of the top fantasy films pre-Lord of the Rings.
Totally.
Fantasy films weren't a big deal until Lord of the Rings.
And a lot of that comes
that
from...
genre really took off when Lord of the Rings, like, hit. And it's like,
sure.
oh, yeah.
And a lot of that comes from just, the impracticality of making a film like that before the digital age.
Sure, and
so
the
much
fact
that's
that, like...
so hard to make.
Like, I think there's also, like, a relatability, like the average audience moviegoer is not going to be like prior to Lord of the Rings. They're not going to know an elf from a troll, from a dwarf, from a like they didn't know.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's true.
That wasn't really ever established. It was kind of like it's just the fantasy crap.
Yeah, fantasy books do have a tendency to like have to spend a lot of exposition on.
Yeah.
What is this? What is that?
Right.
How does this work? What kind of blade is that?
Right.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I did want to bring up, since we're talking about Lord of the Rings a little bit with Willow, like Lord of the Rings, like, so it's so blatant when you watch Willow.
Yeah.
That, like, so Willow is basically this race of little people.
Yep.
Right? Not dwarves, not hobbits, whatever the term is for his race.
Yeah.
And he lives in this village that is basically inhabited by other little people.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
And it looks very similar to the Shire in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's like, okay, George Lucas, again, appropriating things. Fine. Right?
Yeah.
But, like, I give George Lucas some credit. He didn't do trickery with hiring average-sized people to play little people.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, they're all dwarves, and midgets isn't the correct term, but, like, they're all actual little people. They're not in-camera tricks to make normal-sized people look like hobbits.
Right. And
right?
Not to put a sidebar on a sidebar, but little people, is that's the term, right? Like, I Googled it. It seemed like that was the term.
We can talk about that later because Warwick actually addresses it
head on.
Okay. In Life's Too Short.
Okay, so we'll wrap up our Willow coverage.
We'll move on. Yeah. So, but I'm watching Willow and I was like, huh. So all these little people were kind of like fucked over by Peter Jackson because he's like, I'm not going to use little people. I'm going to use normal-sized people and just fake it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it doesn't bother me that much just because, A, the Lord of the Rings stuff comes out to be a pretty great product.
No, right.
And B, like, and that's like also saying like, well, you're going to make the Elephant Man, but you're not going to use, No,
right. I guess it bothers me because I watched like the full first season, the only season of Life's Too Short.
Yeah.
Before I watched Willow. And the whole premise of Life's Too Short is Warwick Davis runs a talent agency for little people.
Right.
And there's a point in the series where the little people are like, hey, look, we need work.
Yeah.
We don't have any work. And he's like, and Warwick's like, you guys don't want to do the dwarf tossing thing, so what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Warwick actually is taking up all the good roles. Like a role comes in and he takes it instead of giving it to some of the other, some of his clients.
Right.
And it's just kind of like, well, yeah, these people don't have a lot of work. Like either they're kind of,
it's like voice
forced to be degraded doing.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like voice actors, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a bunch of roles, but they're good for a couple days work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a if you have experience, you go to the top of the list, and so
right. Which is, I mean, bringing it back around. Warwick is the top of the list. Like he has managed to
pretty much
parlay a career where he was behind the mask doing all these, creatures and whatnot, robots and whatnot. He parlayed that into an actual career where he is maybe not in America, but in the UK.
Yeah. He's
a recognized face.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but like that. I know it's a joke for the TV show you're talking about.
Yeah.
But he does own, he does run a talent agency.
He runs a talent agency for
small and tall people.
Yeah, which I believe is called like Willow.
Yes, you're right. There is a reference to it. I can't remember what it is, but it's a Willow reference. The name of it.
Yeah.
Good point.
So Peter Jackson, he didn't use little people in his movie, and I don't know. It just bothered me. It kind of stuck in my craw.
I'm sure he used some, right?
Well, as like stand-ins.
Oh, well, I
mean, they got work.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know, it just stuck in my craw a little bit.
Yeah, it is a little weird. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
And also just because of, there's a weird thing, too, about the, I guess, the argument goes two ways. The blade cuts two ways.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, like, there's an argument to be like, well, with all your trickery and stuff, you're not actually showing how a little person would move. Right. But then the other side is, well, a little person isn't a hobbit. A hobbit's a whole other thing.
Right. Well, okay, so I have plenty to say about that.
Okay.
But let's wrap up the Willow talk.
Right. So let's just run out some cool shit about the Willow thing.
Yeah.
So those character designs,
highlights,
badass, right?
Yeah.
That's all Mobius. That's a Mobius joint.
Okay. Yeah. There's basically this kind of head henchman villain who wears the skull, kind of like a Skeletor mask.
Very Skeletor, right? Which is funny because Mobius will also do concept artwork for the Masters of the Universe film. Mm-hmm. So,
some of the big battle at the end with the witches, like
yes,
so
and the pig.
Yeah, there's like a goat pig. Like there's basically a old lady wizard who's kind of trapped in the body of various animals,
which grossed me out as a kid. Really grossed me out. I didn't like it.
And also Willow is throughout the movie he's claiming to be kind of a sorcerer, but he's really not.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Right. So they're always kind of relying on him to do some magic, and he never can.
Yeah.
Right. So finally they're like the talking goat woman is like, you got to change me back to my real form. And he does it. He manages to do it. So then there's this kind of old lady witches queen battle, which is weird, and there's definitely uses like 80s effects.
Yeah, those are kind of cool though. Those are like warm effects. I like those.
Yeah. But I mean, all in all, you're right. It's a lighthearted romp. Yeah. Definitely feels like a Lord of the Rings like knockoff. Before the Lord of the Rings,
cinematically, Lord of the Rings, proto Lord of the Rings.
It was proto Lord of the Rings.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah. I mean, if you can deal with the effects, I don't think there's anything really wrong with it. Like the acting is fine, other than Willow and we must save the baby.
Okay, well, yeah.
Like other than that, like
me and my friends in college used to.
Yeah, that's kind of the tagline throughout the entire movie. But
Matt Morgan, the baby.
What about the baby?
Oh, It's fun, though.
It's fun, though.
It's a fun movie. I enjoyed it as a kid. The NES game, horrible. Did not enjoy that game at all.
Yeah.
You know, the game was kind of a Zelda ripoff thing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, Willow. I would say it's positive.
It's positive.
Yeah.
And that's, honestly, that's the thing that I would say about his entire career.
Yeah.
Is it's a positive body of work that he put together.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Right? Like, so what's his name from Game of Thrones?
Yes, Tyrion Lannister. God, fuck.
Damn it. I don't know why I even threw that name out because I can't think of it.
Keep going. Tyrion Lannister, I'll come up with the name.
That actor, I feel like he is kind of shied away from his height, his stature.
What do you mean?
I feel like he's opposed to taking on a role that is, like he won't be like a Santa's elf, or
I don't know. I think he's got a good sense of humor.
Does he? Because
he's in the Knights of Badassdom.
Yeah,
he's in another Goofy show. He was just in the new X-Men show as Bolivar Trask.
All right, maybe I might be wrong, but I always kind of, as I'm doing, I believe
he was also represented by Warwick's.
Oh, that's interesting.
Agency, I believe.
But as I'm doing all this Warwick research, I always I had his Tyrion Lannister, the actor, in the back of my mind as he seems to want to be taken as a serious actor, whereas Warwick is look, I'll do it because it's fun.
Sure. Well, I think that's a generational thing, to be honest with you.
Maybe.
I mean, the guy who plays Tyrion Lannister, Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yes.
Is, much younger, obviously. Right. And I think this is kind of weird, but I think it kind of comes down to...
Is he much younger?
Well, I don't know if he's much younger, but he's definitely younger.
I mean, Warwick's only 42, 44, maybe.
Oh, I don't know, Ron. I mean,
he's like my
Return
age.
of the Jedi. How old were you when Return of the Jedi came out?
13.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, so you're okay. Well, I'll pull that up, but right now I'm just gonna say, well, whether it's
wait. So anyway, Peter Dinklage.
Yes,
I would say this. Peter Dinklage, and there's nothing wrong with this. Peter Dinklage, to me, whether he has a sense of humor or not about his height, wants to be known at not so much for his small stature, but for being a good actor.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But it seems like Warwick is more look, I'm going to take roles because they're fun. I get to be in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs because I'm a dwarf. Hell yeah, I'll do that.
That is totally fair, and I'm going to totally retract what I said because I just looked it up, and it turns out Peter Dinklage is 45, which blows my mind.
So they're about the same. I mean, they have to be about the same
peers.
Age.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess it's just a difference.
But they do have very different career paths.
Yeah,
I mean, Peter Dinklage will take on a role where it's not about his height; it's about the role that.
I first saw him in The Station Agent, like most people.
Exactly, and it's not like that movie is about his height.
No.
It's about the fact that he likes trains.
Yes.
And likes to watch trains.
And there's a question of, does he elevate the material? Or, is he just very good about choosing material? Does he have great management? But I was going to say that a lot of it has to do with also, I talked to a friend of mine who's gay, right?
Okay.
And he was talking about, and this was back when I was, just graduating high school. It's oh man, hey, how Will and Grace, how they represent, gay people is just so swishy, blah blah blah,
right.
And very young liberal.
Yeah.
And his point was you know what, we've got to be seen before we can be heard. And he was so to his theory was that sure, put us on TV as swishy or whatever, and so within 5 years we can start being real. But it's best to be seen before anything else.
Right.
So. I guess in that way,
all right. Well, I mean, that's a good.
Warwick is kind of sure, I'm just going to be out there everywhere. I headlined a movie. I was Willow.
Right.
And Peter Dinklage is now taking it to the next level.
Right.
So.
Well, okay, so that's a good segue because, other than Willow, which did okay at the box office. I don't think it lit the world on fire.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But other than Willow, pretty much this stage of his career, he's known as being the man behind the masks.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay? He is not, and again, this is, moving forward, he's more recognizable in Britain than he is in America as a known face, as a known celebrity. But prior, in this stage, late 80s, he's really just the guy behind the masks, okay?
Right? It's kind of some deep nerd knowledge to know who he is, really.
Right.
Yeah.
So his first film credit, I want to just touch on this before we move forward. His first film credit is actually a movie that was made during Return of the Jedi.
Oh, that's right. Yes, yeah.
By one of the, second directors, the AD, whatever, right? Called Return of the Ewok, right? And it's basically the story of Warwick getting the part in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's kind of a fantasy, too, because he switches back and forth between, actually, trying to get an agent to actually meeting Luke Skywalker and flying to Endor to be on the set of Return of the Jedi. So it kind of has these weird, now we're not in reality because we're in the Star Wars universe, but now we're back in reality, and he's...
Yeah, if you're sorting canon, this might take place in the same universe as the Muppets episode where Mark Hamill...
Exactly, It feels like that, right? It feels like that. There's a point where, Warwick is trying to figure out how to get to Endor, and he's walking through... the back hallways.
Yes.
And he's knocking on dressing room doors, and he talks to Han Solo as Harrison Ford, and he talks to Luke.
And you can find this online.
Well, it's very hard to find. Okay, it's on Vimeo. I found a link, and it is not a good quality whatsoever. Kind of it alternates between screen size, and at certain points you're watching it like someone's filming it in a theater, and then certain parts are actually ripped from a VCR.
Yeah.
Right? And apparently, the original copy is owned by Warwick.
Awesome.
Right? And one day he'll release it, but he has, he owns the only copy of it.
That's cool.
And it has been played at, a Star Wars Celebration, and that's where this Vimeo thing has been put together.
Got it.
But, the guy who filmed it, there's been snippets that have been released.
Yeah.
Right? But it's all kind of put together in its entirety in this hodgepodge way.
It's so funny, that way of presenting it, he got flown to Endor and stuff. It's such a primitive fan service thing. It's such a primitive way of relating to the fans and stuff. It's
right.
Like the Muppets thing, where it's I'm actually Luke Skywalker's cousin.
That's right.
It's just it's so silly and fun.
Yeah.
It's
that's what this totally is.
There's any chance The Force Awakens will come out and there'll be anything like that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, maybe on Sesame Street. Maybe we'll do a guest spot.
Sure.
So.
All right. So, Return of the Jedi comes out. Willow comes out in 88.
88.
Right. He continues on to do other things. He's always busy, always working. And then...
Yeah, he's a hustler, no question.
He's a hustler, right? And then, I think there's a little bit of a dry period for him. He was in Phantom Menace, okay?
Yeah.
He was actually played a few...
Whoa. You jumped to 99. 93,
Well,
he's got Leprechaun, and that's a big,
okay.
big deal.
The dry period, I don't know about. You need to talk Leprechaun, because I don't know Leprechaun.
Yeah, 93 through 2000 something, he's doing Leprechaun.
Gotcha.
And it's a regular little payday.
Okay.
And Leprechaun is a bizarre franchise because, well, first off, you get Jennifer Aniston in the first movie.
Yes.
And her position on the cover becomes more and more prominent with each release.
Right. And she was like a chubby Jennifer Aniston.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I remember see that.
Yeah.
I saw bits and pieces of it. I was like, that's not just Jennifer Aniston. I know.
Oh, yeah. This is, Leprechaun gets to a point where the franchise breaks up in this weird way. All right, so it starts out, and he's the leprechaun.
He's the leprechaun.
And there's this whole thing.
And this is like an evil leprechaun.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It's a horror film.
It's a horror film.
This is the era of Dr. Giggles, and we're kind of post Freddy and Jason.
Okay.
You know? I mean, they've kind of crested. Like, they're still popular, and they're still the number one horror guys, but, like, their period's really the 80s. Right? Sure. So now we're kind of doing this whole new thing where there's a bunch of new weird little franchises that are kind of splintering. And Leprechaun comes out. He's an evil leprechaun. There's a whole plot about his gold, which kind of over the course of the film starts to fall apart. But it's like it's 100 pieces of gold or something. You take one, he's going to get it back. He'll kill you to get it. There's all these various wishes and what have you. And the wishes are very much monkey paw style, you know, like, I wish for a pot of gold. He'll give it to you in your belly and you'll die.
Sure.
You know, shitty things like this.
Right.
But he's funny. He's known for all his like goofy little limericks, like a friend with weed is a friend indeed, but a friend with gold is the best, I'm told. Like,
now is it his voice?
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, I don't know. I assume.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like
I never questioned that.
prior to this, I mean, the Ewoks didn't really talk, and
I would be shocked if by the 7th one they were still paying someone else to do the same role, like. Because this movie goes from...
Because they're kind of low rent.
Oh, my God.
Right?
So it goes from Leprechaun, which is... It's a standard horror film in 93.
Yeah.
To Leprechaun 2, which is like, yeah, okay. Leprechaun 3.
Yeah.
Leprechaun 4 does the classic thing of the era, which is in the 4th movie, you go into space.
I did see that in his IMDb profile. I was like, ooh, Leprechaun in space.
And it's funny. Don't think I'm joking. Critters, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, they go to space. What's the other one that goes to space?
Friday the 13th went into space.
That's number 10 for them. But, number 4. Oh, Hellraiser. Number 4 of Hellraiser goes to space also. Anyhow. But, and then we eventually cut over to a sub-franchise of... of Leprechaun in the Hood.
Nice.
In the Hood.
Still him?
And then we get Leprechaun in the Hood, too, yeah.
Is it still... He's still the Leprechaun?
I believe so. Nice. I mean, 'cause I think he played it all the way right up until the WWE bought it, and now Hornswoggle, the wrestler, plays him.
The only thing I know about the Leprechaun, and I guess this is how much these movies really penetrated pop culture.
Right.
Mike Myers, Wayne's World. For some reason,
I'm the Leprechaun!
He was freaked out about the Leprechaun.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I was aware of the Leprechaun, because I'm not a horror movie guy.
Oh, yeah, by the way, he did, in fact, play Leprechaun in the Hood.
Nice.
In 2000. It's actually in the Hood, also.
In the Hood.
Yes,
nice.
Sorry. I hate to bastardize it.
No, that's quite all right. I apologize for glossing over this important stage of his career.
Well, you got to think it was a regular paycheck.
Right. That's the thing. Is like the guy's constantly worked.
Oh yeah.
You know, for as we were saying, like little people have a hard time finding work. This guy, not a problem. Like he's kind of to play up on the Leprechaun thing. Like he has the luck of the Irish. Like he has fallen into good luck.
Well, you know what? That's one of those things where you really do make your own luck. Because there is a question of there is a question with all celebrity, I guess, is of why is one person, higher on the totem pole than the other?
Well,
it's a combination of chance and tenacity.
Well, let's talk for a second because this is a good way to bring this in.
Yes.
How he really got started.
Yeah, Ron,
right?
you did some biographical research.
Did. So his grandmother heard on the radio in the UK that they were looking for little people under 4 feet tall to audition to be in the next Star Wars movie. Okay? Little Warwick Davis was a big Star Wars fan, right?
So, I mean, he's your peer, yeah. He's 12,
he's
10.
He's 10, 11, 12. His grandmother's
prime time.
Yeah, his grandmother's like, you should audition for this, right? So he auditions, gets a part as an extra Ewok, okay, in Return of the Jedi, right? And good fortune comes his way because the role of Wicket, the Ewok that basically befriends Leia, right, was supposed to be played by Kenny Baker.
Oh, of course.
Kenny Baker, of course, the resident dwarf, little person, right?
Yeah. I like how you're waiting until the end of the episode to reveal if I should say dwarf or little person.
Because Warwick actually brings it up. But, like, so Kenny Baker hurts himself, right? He hurts his back. He can't play Wicket, okay? Yeah. So George is like, I need someone else, so I'll grab one of these extras. Well, Warwick does make his own luck because he had been basically researching his role as an Ewok by taking on the mannerisms of a dog. You know, when a dog's confused, he kind of turns his head sideways.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And George picked up on that, and it's like, yeah, let's make him the head Ewok or the lead Ewok. Wow. So Warwick really kind of made his own luck by actually being an actor and doing research for an Ewok.
So, I'm sorry, did George actually pick up on that?
Yeah, George picked up on that. Right?
Interesting. And once again, people always credit George as being not responsive to actors, not understanding the.
Well, legend has it that it was George that picked up on it. It may have been someone else, but
theoretically, he picks Han Solo, right? I mean,
he picks Harrison Ford, and and apparently, I mean, Warwick was pretty much like again, as I'm doing all the research for Warwick, he seems like a very likable guy.
He's got charisma.
He's got charisma.
He's an extroverted, charismatic.
He seems like he's a favorite immediately on set. Mark Hamill is like, oh, you're a Star Wars fan? Oh, and this is a kid that he's talking to. Oh, you collect Star Wars toys? Oh, I'm going to buy you all the other action figures that you don't have. That's...
Well, there's that note that went around recently about with the little letter he sent to George Lucas asking for, whatever missing toys he was missing.
Yeah, that's just cool.
Super cool.
I wish Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, bought me some Star Wars toys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How cool is that? Right? And obviously, there was some chemistry between Warwick and Carrie Fisher.
Oh my God! There's so many pictures of them cuddling with that.
I mean, just in the scenes that they perform together.
Oh yeah,
of course. You can tell that there's chemistry there. So the guy is actually a talented actor.
Well, he's got that raw power. Yeah.
He's got it.
Got it.
So he goes through the basically 2000s, still behind the mask, right? Mm-hmm. Leprechaun is still behind the mask, and then something happens where. The BBC picks up on it, and he starts becoming a celebrity in the UK, not for being behind the mask. Okay? Mm-hmm. He starts getting on, he's hosting...
Chat shows?
Yeah, chat shows and, game shows. He's on Celebrity Squares, which is, I guess, Britain's versions of Hollywood Squares.
Because they don't have a Hollywood.
Right? Yeah. And he's now, a recognizable face.
Right.
And I was going through his IMDb profile, and the amount of shows that he's done on the BBC where he just plays himself.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. Travel shows. He's been on The Idiot Abroad. Weekend Escapes with Warwick Davis. He's had a talk show, Words with Warwick Davis, where he apparently interviews people like Mark Hamill. Uh-huh. The list is amazing. He is truly a celebrity in the UK.
That's awesome.
Right?
So here's the thing though. Do you know I feel like the reason I thought that Willow felt so BBC-ish is, and it must have been filmed in the UK or something.
Yeah, it must have been.
It does have that vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. I think it was probably filmed at where they filmed Star Wars.
He's very British.
He is very British. Which, okay, so let's just get into the very Britishness of it.
Yes.
I feel like his popularity was really on the rise, from 2000 on in the UK. Right?
Really? So it's
because he got out from under the masks, okay, and now he's actually becoming a celebrity in his own right.
Fair enough.
Right? For these shows, I mean, the BBC is just filling up the time slots with, like I said, travel shows, cooking shows, whatever. And
Michael Palin gets a travel show.
Warwick Davis is all over the place, right? But America catches on to him again with the HBO show, Life's Too Short.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Life's Too Short is in the vein of The Office, of Curb Your Enthusiasm, basically a mock reality show.
It's very much in the vein of The Office. Ricky Gervais's.
Well, Ricky Gervais. This is a Ricky Gervais joint.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it feels like a Ricky Gervais joint.
Wrote this. Okay, and it's basically following the fictional life of Warwick Davis. Semi-fictional life of Warwick Davis, where he's the owner of a talent agency for little people.
Right, and the real agency actually is called Willow Management.
Okay, I think it's actually called Life's Too Short, or in the series Life's Too Short. Sure. It's not called Willow.
Because I would need to pay George Lucas.
Right. So, but it's basically following Warwick Davis as himself, a fictional version of himself, who's going through a divorce with a normal-sized woman. Okay. And basically in debt up to his eyeballs, and trying to get work for himself, and basically going almost every episode going to Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant at their office and begging them for work.
Right.
Okay, and it's basically the hijinks of this down on his luck little person actor in the UK, dealing with the struggles of being a little person, dealing with the struggles of, going through a divorce with a normal-sized woman who is sleeping with her lawyer, and Warwick Davis's lawyer is, kind of a shitbag, doesn't know anything about the law. It's just Warwick Davis's friend, and basically every time something bad happens to Warwick Davis in legal proceedings, his lawyer's just laughing. He's like, yeah, you should have gotten a better lawyer. He's like, that's you. Whatever. But it's very much making fun of him. He's making fun of himself. Okay?
Right.
He's making you see him get out of his SUV, and he opens the door and falls out of it because it's a fucking SUV and the guy's 4 feet tall.
And this fits very well into
there's a 10-minute scene where he's trying to figure out how to ring a doorbell.
And this fits very well into the Ricky Gervais sense of humor.
It's very much Ricky,
especially his Netflix show.
Yeah, it's very well. Okay, so this is he started he was in one show of Extras, another Ricky Gervais show. Right. Okay, so this kind of parlayed in the Extras role, kind of parlayed into this whole series.
He certainly seems to make a connection wherever he goes, because you'd mentioned earlier that he was in Labyrinth. Yeah. And Labyrinth is written by one of the Pythons. Mm-hmm. And, then it goes on to be in Spam a lot. Mm-hmm. So, he definitely makes a connection wherever he is.
The guy is just likable. The guy is very likable.
He's Hollywood.
Right? He's Hollywood in the UK.
Yeah.
But, so here's the scene I've been alluding to the entire show.
Yes.
There's a scene where Warwick is sitting there with his lawyer, who I said is just complete scumbag, doesn't know anything about the law, fuck up, right?
Sure.
And they make mention of, oh, you're a midget, and Warwick is like, you can't call me that, and the lawyer's like, oh, well, why not? And Warwick's like, I don't know. It's he's poking fun at the fact that he's midget is a derogatory term, but I don't know why. I'm a midget. I don't know why it's a derogatory term. And that
That was your litmus test. That's what
that lends to his likability. He's like, I guess it's bad, but I don't know why. I'm a midget. I don't know.
Sure. Sure. Here's my thing, is that I feel like midget does feel somewhat derogatory somehow.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that little person is necessarily any better. But, stepping back another step, it is very descriptive.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know.
It seems like it's something that little people struggle with too.
Well, it's weird because it doesn't seem like there's enough of a consortium of people to say.
Right. Right. I don't know what the population of little people are in the world, but I've
only worked with
it seems
one.
like they gravitate towards. I've never worked with. I did know one. I did know one.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Who?
Well, that's off mic.
I can't. Oh, maybe I work with two then, because I know another one. I don't know this person.
Well, Rob.
Wow. Sorry.
Below eye level.
I apparently. Wow.
Anyhow.
Called out on that one.
So, yeah. So, it's obviously, problematic, but I think it's more problematic for, well, I don't know. I
don't know. Okay, so another scene in Life's Too Short is basically he's being confronted by all of his clients, okay? The people he's trying to get work for, a bunch of little people, right?
Yes.
And they're accusing him of taking all the good roles, okay?
Sure. Which is funny because that must have happened at some point, right?
Right.
If you're running a talent instinct, you're Warwick Davis.
Well, here's the thing. As Peter Dinklage, as Warwick Davis, this is going to sound so wrong, but I have to kind of go there. They are, even though they're little people.
Yes.
They're handsome. They're attractive. They have attractive features.
Right. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
The people in the show that are
Peter Dinklage is better looking than I am.
Right?
No question.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not the case with a lot of little people. Portrayed in Life's Too Short, his talent pool that are accusing him of taking all the good roles. They're accusing him of this, and he points out, they're like, look, you people look like trolls. I'm not going to give you the good roles. You all look like trolls.
Oh, God.
And that's the funny, weird humor, the Ricky Gervais humor of all of this is okay, you clearly have someone who's the star of the show who has I guess it's considered a deformity, right?
Okay, sure.
Right? And yet they're finding humor in it and poking fun at it. And that's the Ricky Gervais thing, right?
Yeah,
Ricky Gervais thing is let's find the most taboo thing and poke fun at it.
Yeah, but he does it in a very specific way, I think. He had the other show on Netflix that wasn't a very big success, but a mentally challenged guy. Mm-hmm. And I watched a few episodes of it. And the thing about it is it's about pointing out these uncomfortable things that are realities for certain people.
Sure.
But finding a natural beauty in their life also.
Okay. So there's a scene. It's one of probably Life's Too Short's most famous scene. Mm-hmm. Where Liam Neeson comes into Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant's office.
Funny.
Right? Stephen Merchant, if you don't know, is Ricky Gervais's partner in crime. Basically, he's kind of the tall, blonde, glasses, kind of nerdy-looking guy, right? Mm-hmm. Who's basically been a part of, he's been Ricky Gervais's partner since the beginning of time, right? They did The Office together and everything. He's been more of the behind-the-scenes guy. Mm-hmm. Right, but Liam Neeson comes into the office and is like, "Hey, I want to start doing comedy."
Yeah, right? Yes. But he's says it's very downtrodden,
right?
Yeah,
and they're like, "Oh, great, you want to do comedic movies?" And he's like, "No, I want to do stand up." And I'm not going to repeat the entire thing. Look it up on YouTube. but basically his whole point of reference for humor is to poke fun at AIDS and having AIDS. And Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant are like, that's not funny. You can't do that. All right?
Yeah, you should really guys just Google the YouTube clip of...
Yeah, you have to Google it. And the connection to Warwick Davis is like, he's in the room watching this entire scene take place.
Right.
And, like, throughout this entire thing, like, there's points where, like, Liam Neeson is like, why can't I make fun of, like, why can't my humor be about AIDS?
Yeah, like, why is that funny?
You do it, and it points to Ricky Gervais, right?
Yeah.
He's like, you do it, you get away with it.
Yeah.
How come it works for you? And both Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant are like,
we don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just does. Right? And that's the whole thing with, like, Ricky Gervais's humor is, like, it shouldn't work, but because it's Ricky Gervais, it kind of does.
Right.
Whether you like him or not. If you don't like him, maybe it doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
I've always been a Ricky Gervais fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
it works for me. It shouldn't work because it's totally awful and un-PC and kind of despicable, but it works. And that's kind of the whole tinge of the show is, like... Everything that Warwick Davis does in the show is slightly despicable and depressing.
Yes.
And yet it's still kind of an entertaining show, and you find him likable.
Yeah. Ricky Gervais, to me, is really, really funny when he's, like, when he's on that balance, you know? But, like, you go one way or the other, too saccharine, too harsh, and it's rough. Like, I felt like one of his movies was a little too harsh. I felt like that Derek was a little too soft. Like
Sure.
You know what I mean? But The Office
was
pitch
dead on.
perfect.
Right.
You know, that's where it's at.
And, I mean, I think Life's Too Short is walking the
Is
line.
it ongoing? Is it still happening?
No, I think it was only one season.
Right.
But because Warwick Davis has moved on. Like, he's actually doing some stage productions for little people in the UK. Mm-hmm. So he's actually, you know, like, he's actually trying to do good for little people in the world and, you know, get them work. Like, so he is kind of a man of his people.
Sure. Well,
you know?
yeah. I mean, and it's funny, too. I said that I compared him earlier to, what's his name? From Sons of Anarchy and Hellboy and Beauty and the Beast and Ron Perlman. Yeah. But, I mean, that's his agency also represents extremely tall people, which Ron Perlman almost fits into.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So, I think it's an interesting cause to take up because it's like, it's not like, it's like these are people who literally have like a whole different way of life. You know what I mean? That's not represented.
Yeah.
And like how many romantic comedies are you going to find that like is going to deal with someone?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you're definitely not going to find like as much as Warwick Davis has made a celebrity out of himself.
Yeah,
you know, in a good way. I mean, he's not like, you know, it's not like he's exploited himself. Like he's actually made himself a star. Right. Yeah, you're not going to see him in leading roles. Like that's what Life's Too Short was so. That's what's so unique about Life's Too Short, or even a Willow, is the fact that here he is. Like this,
especially a Willow.
He's a leading man. Like he's there. He's supporting a film.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
Without a mask, without prosthetics, without he's supporting. Like he can do it.
I mean, I think Willow. He has to consider Willow as an important film. I mean, Christ.
That's the thing. Is like, yeah. Well, he named his actual agency after it, so
right.
I never doing all this research. I never got the opinion that he was not proud of anything he's done.
Sure.
It's
funny. We talked about Peter Dinklage a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
About you would never see him play an elf or anything, but I forgot he's in the movie Elf.
He is.
Yeah.
He
plays the author who gets offended.
The author that gets offended. Yeah. Which I always kind of feel like that's himself playing himself, just kind of angry and pissed off that not taking him, people don't take him serious.
Sure.
Because not that Peter Dinklage, I'm sure he has a sense of humor, but again, he takes roles because they're good acting roles.
He's a good actor, though.
Right?
That's the thing. It's like, can you imagine being that talented at this one thing, and it's like.
Right, like he considers himself an actor, not a little person actor. Whereas I think Warwick Davis is like, hey, look, I'm a little person. I'm going to, it's work. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Not to say that he's like whoring himself out. Like he's managed to build quite a resume for himself. But, he's still in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
He's still playing an Ewok. Peter Dinklage isn't playing an Ewok.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't know. I guess it's funny, when I kept comparing him to Ron Perlman. I met Ron Perlman a few years ago at this weird little event in Peoria, of all things.
Yeah.
And what he told me was, it was one of those Q&A situations at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I was like, how do you pick your roles? How do you pick something amazing and beautiful like, City of Lost Children?
Right.
And then follow it up with something like Hellboy?
Yeah.
Like, how does that happen? And he's like, I wish I could tell you that I was one of those guys that just has a stack of scripts I sort through at the end of every day. He's like,
sure.
But I pretty much take them as they come.
Yeah, right.
And it's that kind of workman mentality, I think, him and Warwick really share,
Oh, sure.
Where it's just like, Guardians, this week I'm doing,
Well, I mean, I think I mentioned these earlier, but Warwick Davis was on Celebrity Squares. He's done Weekend Escapes with Warwick Davis. The Idiot Abroad. I can't even. Do you have IMDb up? Because if you go to just all his parts where he plays himself. Click on the himself section.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Go through that list of all the stuff that he's been on in the BBC.
Oh, sure. He's staying busy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's he's
a hustler, man.
He's a hustler.
He's an actor,
right?
Yeah.
No question. So let's make it real for a second. Okay.
He's got 64 self credits on him.
Yeah. So let's make it real.
Yes.
So, for someone that acts as much as he does, he must live quite the life.
You would think.
You would think. Right?
You would think.
Not so. Right? He does not consider himself rich by any means.
It's a funny thing. Rich and poor are actually self-declared things. There is no measurement.
Well, okay, so we haven't really discussed this part, but he is a dwarf. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because there scientifically is a distinction of some sort.
Yes, he is considered.
What the distinction is, Ron?
He is considered a dwarf.
Okay.
Dwarfism. He is a rare form of dwarfism. Spondylofacial dysplasia congenital, abbreviated SED.
Yes, I believe it's actually pronounced spondylofacial.
Okay. I think that's what I said. Anyway, it's basically a rare form of dwarfism, abbreviated to SED.
Yes.
Right? With that, he has, his big concern in life is he has aches and pains. He has, physical problems.
Right.
Joints. He's hips, joints. They wear out. He's going to have, he suffers from a lot of pain.
Sure.
He's married to a woman. She is also a dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She has a more common form of the common form of dwarfism called achondroplasia.
Yes.
Right. They have two kids, a daughter and a son. They both have what Warwick has, SED.
Yeah.
Right?
Same pictures. Yeah.
And they also had two other children who died shortly after birth because of all the complications that comes with
a combination.
Of all, and basically a lot of his money goes towards, just all of his family's medical expenses.
It's funny too because he seems like such a plucky person.
That's the thing.
Such a happy-go-lucky guy.
He does not let this get him down at all.
It's amazing. It's a kind of amazing story in that way.
It is. It is. He's just look, this is just what I deal with, and like it doesn't stop him at all, which I found really inspiring. Like,
agreed.
Like just like I said, I enjoy Ricky Gervais's humor, so watching Life's Too Short was a pleasure for me, even though it ended on such a down note. Like it really, like the first season just ends with basically he loses everything to his wife in divorce, and he ends up sleeping in a drawer.
Aww.
And it's just like, okay, that's sad and awful and kind of stereotypical bad, right?
Yeah.
But I was just like, oh well, like
sometimes you sleep in a drawer.
it's fictional, and they did it for a good.
And
good
he's not the
laugh.
best guy in that series either.
He's not. He's not. But like, after doing all the research for the show, I was like, yeah, I'd like to meet this guy. Like, he seems just a decent guy. Like he, like, I don't know. I got a lot out of doing the research for him, watching all of his stuff other than Leprechaun, 'cause I can't do that.
Yeah.
But I truly walked away.
I think you probably could watch.
I probably
sometime.
could.
You'd have
I'm
a
sure
fun time.
yeah.
It's goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. Here's to all his success, and hopefully he has much more. He's going to be in Phantom Menace.
Yeah. Oh no, they had the Force Awakens.
Oh man, he's going to be in. Yeah. He's going to be. Well, okay. So wait, he did play Yoda in the Phantom Menace. Do you know that?
I heard this in the walking scenes. I heard this from your notes.
he was Yoda for walking scenes.
It's funny, like CGI wasn't quite there yet. It's like,
I want to see
it'll
that
just
because
be better
I mean,
to just have him walk.
I mean, he is a dwarf, so he does have a peculiar walk.
Do you think they fixed it later though? Like they had, because originally they had the puppet Yoda in Phantom Menace, and it was disgusting.
Do you think he had to wear the puppet?
Yeah,
he put the puppet on.
Wear the puppet, isn't that? Put your hand in the puppet head. But yeah, I gotta say,
Kenny Baker in the droid. You got to put the puppet on.
The idea of losing children and all this stuff. It's like it could be such a tragic story.
Yeah, it could be,
but it's not. It's completely positive.
He seems very, very happy.
I challenge you to find a sad picture of him on the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kenny Baker.
Kenny Baker. I find a picture on the internet where he's not high.
Yeah.
I mean, comparing the two, we compared him to Peter Dinklage, but Kenny Baker has very much a private life compared to Warwick Davis.
Oh my God, yeah.
Kenny Baker. I didn't look up his internet profile, but he's known as R2-D2. What else has he really done?
The only thing I know him for is supposedly he's always high on set.
Was he in Time Bandits?
I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. We'll have to pull all that. Maybe someday Kenny Baker will earn his own spotlight, for he is also in TFA, The Force Awakens.
So we've heard. We haven't even heard that really.
Right. Well,
we've seen R2 in the box. But
I think we could certainly do a double bill of Kenny Baker and
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Mayhew one day.
Be a good double bill.
Yeah, that could happen.
Be a good double bill. The long and the short of it.
But tonight was for our good friend Warwick Davis.
That's right.
And
cheers to you, mate.
Cheers to you, mate. And also for all our UK listeners out there. I just want to send out a little RIP message for Brett Ewins, the cartoonist from 2000 AD, the Judge Dredd magazine. Fantastic cartoonist. I encourage everyone to seek out his work. He died prematurely at age 59. So, sorry to end on a down note. But,
all right. Well, folks, that is our actor profile for tonight.
Yes. And now on to see Sleater-Kinney.
Yeah, we're gonna go head out, see a show. So folks, we'll talk to you next week. Until then, we are Star Wars Delusions of Granular,
talking Star Wars
and talking Star Wars.
Yeah, days and days.
Days and days and days.